Hi, everyone. We're back for another interview. My name is Pete Baikins. I chair Gamification Europe. And with me today is Chantal van Kempen. Did I get that right?
Correct. Yes.
Fantastic. Who's going to be doing one of our talks on the conference day. So I thought it'd be good for everyone to learn a little bit about Chantal, background, and obviously a little bit about the talk without giving everything away.
Ooh. Only the teasers.
The teasers, exactly. A little bit of suspense is good, isn't it? So, well, let's start. Chantal,
Yeah.
a little bit about your background. How did you come to work with games and gamification?
Well, it started pretty early actually. When I was 13, I was at an event. It's called the Mega Festation. It was in Utrecht, and for the little me, everything I ever wanted was at one place. I could do everything. So you could bungee jump and you could learn all kind of stuff. And I thought, this is what I'm gonna do with my life. And then I started doing leisure management. Loved it. Learned a lot about Imagineering. That was what I most loved. But then I also found out that a lot of conferences are just about selling square meters. And I thought that could be different. I want to do something different. I want to help people. I want to transform people. And like 15 years now, it's very hot and happening. But 15 years ago, not a lot of conferences were that way. And I thought that's what I'm gonna do. But first, I need to learn a lot about how people can actually be transformed. So I did psychology to learn how people do the things they do, and then at last, I also learned a bit about managing the creative industry. So that's what I did last.
Okay.
Yeah, and I combine it in my work and life also, actually.
So it sounds like a great introduction to the world of gamification. In my opinion, it is psychology, and it's a nice practical framework for applying that psychology to the things we're doing. So let's have a look at some of the examples. I've stolen these from your LinkedIn profile, to be honest.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
saw there was, let's see, you said they helped create a serious game to improve cooperation for the Ministry of Migration. So I'd like to hear a bit more about that.
Well, we created a game. They had like a little different divisions that were not in the same building, so they didn't talk a lot together. And they asked, "Can you build something so we learn a lot more about ourselves?" So we created like tiny challenges that people could do with 2 or 3 people, and then we had like this really big like tubes, and you
Right.
can get points. Like there were little balls you could get, and you could get points. And we also created all kinds of different games that were a bit on the edge side. Like, okay, so if you have a co-worker you don't like, but it's lunch break, do you ask them to join you or do you leave them behind, or that kind of questions. So
That's very cool.
a little bit of the psychology in the game.
So was it all physical, or was there a digital element to it?
It was a physical game. Yes, I have built 1 or 2 digital games, but I love the physical realm and the tangibility of it.
Now, and why is that? Do you find it more impactful, or is it just like don't like staring at a screen?
No, it's more. For instance, when you couldn't. When you were learning how to calculate, you had like the little rack with all the things on it. So it made it tangible, or you needed your fingers to count, because it was such a abstract concept that you needed something physical to understand it. And I think that a lot of organizational questions are so abstract and so complex that if you make it tangible and visible, people understand it better.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a truth to that, isn't there? Okay, so look, how did that game go? So did it work? Were people
Um,
enjoying it, etc.?
yes, it works. A lot of people were like they also needed to make like little how do you call it, a poem about their company and that kind of stuff, and you saw people running around and doing all kinds of stuff, so it really worked. Yes. I would have loved to do like more, because I think if you get to know each other, that's one thing,
Mhm.
but to go to the deeper layers, you need like more intervention than one time, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You might have built a few links, but you could
Yeah.
build a lot more if you had more interventions. Yeah, I'm with
Yeah,
you.
definitely.
Now, how different was that from one of your other games? I'm going to say you worked for Zorg Experience, creating a learning experience for healthcare professionals to facilitate change. Now,
Yeah.
I'm really interested in this because I do a healthcare gamification podcast as well. So I'm
Oh,
all ears
cool.
for this one.
Oh, we actually created two different games, but the first one was for healthcare professionals that did like a follow-up study, and they asked, can you create an evening where they get immersed? And we created three different rooms about positive health from Machtels Hubert. She has a, I don't know if you know it, but she has a theory about positive health in 8 different divisions, and we create rooms around it. And for instance, people came into the experience, and then they were sat down at a waiting room, and they just sat there, and we were just eating our little banana, and everybody was like, what's happening here? Why am I waiting? And they also asked, why are we waiting? Well, you made the appointment, so you know why you're here, right? And they, oh, okay. And how long do we have to wait? Well, the doctor will arrive when the doctor will arrive. And they just, you felt like the tension building. And then at like 8 minutes or 10 minutes, we said, okay, it's time to go to the next room. And they got into like a really creative meditation room, and they got like a physical body check. And then we
Yeah.
asked, how was this waiting experience compared to the first one? And then we asked, how often are your patients waiting, and do you let them
Mhm.
know how long they have to wait? And do you create something for them? Because how people arrive at your talk already has an impact on how they're going to feel. So if they had to wait like 30 minutes and are all anxious, then you have a different conversation with them than if they come in very relaxed and then can better tell their story, for instance. But people usually don't, I don't know if they don't have time for it, or did we we forget these things are important.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah,
bet that had quite the impact.
that definitely had an impact. Yeah, yeah.
I'd love to know what they changed as a result, if
I would
anything.
love to know too. Yeah, we didn't have the email addresses, but I'd love to know if they changed something. Yeah.
Well, I'm sensing a theme here, which is you like, I'm going to say, an immersive experiential type of learning game and experience.
I
Um,
yeah.
yeah. And has that led you to, I'm going to ask this, you were one of the founding members of the World Experience Organization. So is that, tell us a bit about that and your involvement, and
uh,
tell me
yeah.
a bit more.
So it's a global community of experience designers, and we have like a campfire every week where people that are totally into experience design learn from each other. And there are 850 people at the moment, and I was one of the first people to join this community. I didn't set it up, but I was one of the first members to join. And what it is they're all people who want to change the rules with experience design and want to help each other create better experiences. Yeah, to change the world, I would say.
Well, I mean, that's exactly what my founding principle for Gamification Europe is.
So
Let's use
that's great.
gamification to change the world for the better. So
Yeah.
I think we're nicely aligned on that.
Yeah.
I'm conscious, like, it's a great chat already, and we're running out of time. But let's talk a little bit about your talk at Gamification Europe. The title is "Removing Resistance in Planning by Changing Perspective," and I'm thinking I'm getting a hint from what we've talked about so far. But tell us an insight into the talk. What are we hoping to get from it?
Well, what are we trying to get from it? We talked about tangibility and how you can create very complex structures and make it simple so people would understand what it's about. And also that people, you push people a little bit so they are changing. And they are changing, but they don't know it themselves until the end, for instance. They are
I like that.
Yeah. And we built, it's based around a game we built with Empower to Improve. So that's the company I'm working for right now. We're going to call it Lighthouse. So it's going to change. But what we do is we help people see a different perspective and go about, changing one company at a time, I would say. And this is one of the examples.
I like that. So in terms of your talk, are we going to learn how to do that for ourselves? What are we getting?
I'm gonna take you through a few of the learning points I had during the making of this game. I'm gonna show how we immerse different perspective, because when we got this question, there were a lot of different stakeholders with a lot of different ideas, and I'm gonna show how we put them together, and see how you could also do that for your company.
That's brilliant. I suspect there's a resistance to change in most companies, so this could be very useful for everyone. But who would you say it would best suit to attend? Any particular roles or?
I think people who would like to know if they can find different ways to motivate people. So, for instance, usually we think we can motivate people by talking, but there are a lot of other ways to motivate people. So, how can we motivate people to do something different? People who are inspired to also create experiences, and for big companies to know how they can change themselves into better companies.
I like that. That's pretty powerful, isn't it? Come and listen to your talk, and you can change your company to be a better company.
Yeah.
That's a no-brainer, isn't it? You should come to that. So what would you think? What would you say to someone thinking of attending this year's Gamification Europe?
I would say meet a lot of people, hear a lot of different perspectives. Also, if you're not familiar with the gamification, you still have something to bring, because I think especially the different perspectives gonna help to create games. And I think you can always create a game and experience around every topic there is.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, very good. So even if you know nothing about gamification yet, you'll definitely learn something and change your perspective. That's fantastic. Anything else you'd like to add, Chantal?
Love to meet up there and see everybody who's there. And if you're a late bloomer, there's still possibility to come. So
there is indeed.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. That has been fantastic. I mean, you're just very interesting, and I can't wait to see your talk.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for spending some time with us today, Chantal.
Yes, love to be there and love to meet you in London.